Have you ever been shattered by something as invisible as a word? Has a single sentence ever cut deeper than any wound you've ever known? Most of us carry around invisible scars formed not by what was done, but by what was said. Yet here's the truth. Just as words can wound, they also carry the power to heal. And today, we are diving into how that power lives inside you. Let's talk about it heart to heart. We don't realize it, but the very first conversation we have every day is the one we have with ourselves. Before the world even gets a chance to speak to us, we have already said 100 silent things to our own heart. And sometimes those words are cruel. I'm too tired. I'm not good enough. What's the point? They sound so normal, so harmless, but they are seeds. Seeds that grow into doubt, fear, and a quiet kind of resignation that we start to carry through every interaction, every decision. And the most heartbreaking part? We don't even notice it happening. We just begin to shrink slowly. But the beautiful thing is we can change the script. We can start rewriting that narrative with compassion. You can begin your day with words that lift instead of tear. Imagine waking up and whispering to yourself, I am still here. I am trying. And that is enough. That one sentence can be more powerful than 1,000 affirmations shouted into the void. Because it comes from a place of tenderness, not performance. Healing starts when you stop using your words as weapons against your own soul and start using them as hands that gently hold your pain and say, even this is lovable. We often forget that the way we speak to others is a reflection of what's going on inside us. Have you ever snapped at someone and then felt a deep ache afterward? Not because they didn't deserve your frustration, but because something inside you felt off? That ache is a signal. It's your heart telling you that the words didn't align with the person you want to be. It's not about being perfect or soft all the time. It's about being honest, being kind, being human. When your inner world is full of chaos, it leaks into your language. Short tempers, cold responses, silence where warmth should have been. But when you start speaking to yourself with more understanding, something magical happens. You become slower to judge, quicker to listen, gentler in your tone. Not just with others, but with yourself. That's where healing blooms. In conversations where you don't try to be right, you try to be real. Where your words don't dominate, they connect. Where instead of using language to control, you use it to love. Because the truth is, every time you speak to someone, you're building a bridge or a wall. And that choice, it's always in your hands. We live in a world that often glorifies silence in the face of pain. We are taught to be strong, to not make a scene, to swallow our emotions and pretend everything is fine. And so we walk around with aching hearts, waiting, sometimes our whole lives, for someone to say, I understand you. But validation is not weakness. It's not about seeking approval. It's about recognizing our shared humanity. To look someone in the eye and say, what you're feeling makes sense. You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. I get it. That is one of the most powerful gifts you can give. Because in that moment, you're not fixing them. You're freeing them. And the beauty of it is, when you offer that kind of understanding to someone else, it heals something in you too. It reminds the younger, unheard version of you that maybe you were never too much. Maybe you were just surrounded by people who didn't know how to hold your truth. We all need to be seen. Not just looked at, but really seen. And words have the power to make that happen. They can cut through the noise and touch the rawest, most honest parts of someone's soul. That's not weakness. That's love in its purest form. There's something deeply courageous about breaking patterns that have existed for generations. Maybe you grew up in a home where kindness was rare, where love was measured in discipline, and emotional expression was considered weakness. And yet here you are, wanting to be different, wanting to create a world where softness and strength can exist side by side. And you know how that starts? With your voice. With choosing to say the things you never heard. With saying, I'm proud of you, even when your own parents never said it to you. With choosing to hug a child and say, you are safe with me, even when no one made you feel safe. You don't need a loud revolution to break a cycle. Sometimes, all it takes is a quiet, consistent choice to speak life where there was once silence. Every time you choose compassion over criticism, Every time you choose to nurture instead of neglect, you are planting seeds of healing in a garden your ancestors never got to tend. And maybe they didn't know how, but you do. You have the power to use your words to create a legacy of love. There is something deeply humbling about the words, "I'm sorry." And yet, they're often the words we hold back the most. Not because we don't feel regret, but because we are afraid of looking weak, of opening old wounds, of losing control. But the truth is, an apology is not about giving power away. It's about reclaiming your integrity. When you say, "I'm sorry," you're not just acknowledging someone else's pain. You're honoring your own capacity for growth. You're saying, "I see now, I understand now, and I want to do better." That's not a sign of weakness. That's emotional maturity. It takes strength to face yourself, to admit that you might have caused harm unintentionally. But in that vulnerability lies healing. So many relationships, romantic, familial, even the one you have with yourself, are hurting not because something went wrong, but because no one ever acknowledged it. Silence can feel like abandonment, but a sincere apology is a bridge. A quiet moment of truth that invites two hearts to meet again, not as perfect people, but as honest ones. And even when the other person isn't ready to receive it, you can still offer it for your own peace. Because peace doesn't come from avoiding discomfort. It comes from choosing to make things right, even if it's just within your own soul. There's a heaviness that comes with knowing someone you care about is suffering, and feeling like you don't know what to say. So we stay silent. We convince ourselves that it's better not to intrude, not to say the wrong thing. But silence can be more damaging than any imperfect words. When someone is in pain, they don't need solutions. They don't need lectures. They need presence. They need to hear, "I don't have the perfect words, but I care. I see you." That sentence might feel small, but to someone drowning in isolation, it's everything. Sometimes, just showing up and saying, "You're not alone," can save a life. Not just figuratively, but literally. We underestimate the power of reaching out. We overthink the moment and forget that being human is messy. No one expects you to have all the right words. What matters is that you use your voice to create connection, not distance. Because at the end of the day, your words don't need to be poetic. They just need to be real. There's this belief that love has to be big to be meaningful. That healing only comes from grand gestures, dramatic moments, or life-changing conversations. But healing often begins in the quietest places, through the simplest of words. A soft, "Thank you," a heartfelt, "I missed you," a gentle, "You did your best today." These aren't just casual phrases. They are threads that slowly stitch broken pieces back together. We spend so much time waiting for the right moment, the perfect words, that we forget how much power there is in the everyday ones. You don't need to fix someone's pain to make them feel held. You don't need to have all the answers to offer comfort. Sometimes, just being consistent in your kindness is the healing. Love doesn't always roar. It often whispers, through acts of presence, patience, and words that come not from the mind, but from the heart. And the beautiful thing is, you already have everything you need. You don't need to become someone else to be a source of healing. You just need to be willing, to be honest, to be soft, to be there. Because in the end, it's not the volume of our words that matter. It's the sincerity behind them. Every one of us carries a voice that can change the world around us, and yet so many of us have gone silent. Not because we have nothing to say, but because somewhere along the way we were made to feel like our voice didn't matter. But your voice does matter. More than you know. It has the power to rebuild what was broken, to lift someone who's falling, to spark courage in a heart that's growing cold. And not just in others, in yourself. When you speak with compassion, you teach yourself how to be safe within your own mind. When you speak with hope, you remind yourself that healing is always possible. Your voice is not too soft, too small, too late. It is exactly what someone in your life, maybe even you, needs to hear. And you don't have to be fearless to speak. You just have to be willing. Because when you choose to speak light into the darkness, even if your voice shakes, you become the reason someone believes in love again, in life again, in themselves again. Let this be your reminder. The next time you open your mouth, you're either building someone or breaking them. Choose to build. Choose to speak with love, with fire, with empathy. The healing starts with your words. Now it's your turn. Speaking head, what words have healed you in the past? Speech balloon, share them in the comments. We want to hear from you. Red heart, if this message touched your heart, give it a like, send it to someone who needs it, and don't forget to subscribe for more empowering conversations like this. Backhand index pointing down and tell us, what should we talk about next? Your voice matters here. Your healing matters. Let's grow together.